Hello and welcome to the Shaman's View. I'm Dr. Alberto Villoldo. Great to be with you today. And it's another beautiful day in this planet Earth that we're all Earthians and living in. In today's talk, I want to talk to you, today I want to speak to you about lineages, about how we find our lineage. And let me take us first through a quick overview of what a lineage is in the Western traditions. We have in Christianity, for example, we know that if you are a priest, you belong to the line of Peter, because Peter was anointed by Christ to start his church. In Judaism, we know that the Messiah will come from the line of David. And even in Judaism, there are lineages, the Cohens, which are the prophets, the interpreters of the law. So in our Western traditions, these are our two religious lineages. But we speak also about coming from a long line of carpenters. And I don't mean this in the biblical sense, but trades or professions that you have. In my family is a long line of people that work the land, the earth. So the lineages, when you go to the East, means an entirely different thing. It means the spiritual lineage that you belong to, that you wake up to, you recognize that you have been part of that lineage for many, many incarnations, and now you've returned to it. And before we go into the shamanic lineages, I want to mention a very interesting quote that's from the Bible. When I imagine that little Jesus was hanging out with his friends and he was late for dinner, and Mary sends someone to find her son and says to Jesus, "Hey, boy, come on, time to get back home. Wash up, clean up, and go to dinner. Your mother is calling you." And Jesus turns to him and he asks, "Who is my mother?" Who is my mother? What a baffling question. There have been treatises written about this in Christianity. Fascinating quote. Who is my mother? And it's something that we even have asked ourselves as young men and women when we find that we don't really belong in the family that we were born into. Who are these people? You know, their mother and father, but who are they? How did I end up in this household? So we need to find our family. We need to find our tribe. And now to the shaman's lore and how we discover our lineage, which I'd like to share with you a little bit later with the help of our spirit animals and our power animals. So in the shamanic traditions, we all belong to villages, to tribes, to villages really. They're spiritual villages that we're part of and that we reincarnate together. And this is why we seem to be so familiar to each other. When we go, boy, I feel like I have known you forever. It's because you have. Because we are part of this spiritual village that is reincarnated with a mission. Each one of the villages that we belong to, and some of us belong to multiple villages, come with a vision, and we reincarnate at the same time historically. Those of us that are born today and that are part of this revolution in consciousness have been incarnating over and over to bring consciousness to the planet and to the earth. And we find each other, we recognize each other, and it's like homecoming. It's extraordinary. So this is, according to the shaman's lore, the villages that we are born into. When you are born into a village that is infused with anger and rage and suffering, you end up with in one of the bardo planes, what the Buddhists call the bardos, or the Christians call the purgatories. These are villages where you go to cleanse and to purge through however it is that you need to learn your lessons. All of us that are part of this consciousness movement, of this reawakening, particularly of the indigenous spirituality, the feminine, earth-based spirituality, not the intellectual, wanting to leave this earth to go into some higher heavenly plane where there'll be no taxes and no government meddling and no forced vaccinations and no. That's not what we're talking about. That's the patriarchal, let's leave this earth as soon as we can so we can go into this heaven where everything will be just perfect like it. Like in Camelot. Like in Camelot, where everything is perfect. That is the patriarchal heavenly realm of religion. For the shamanic, this earth plane is heaven. We were born into this paradise, and we can continue to live in this paradise. But we have to be stewards of this paradise, and we do it through our village that we belong to, the lineage that we're part of. And we're part of a lineage of sages, of medicine men and women for whom the most important endeavor is wisdom, is waking up, is dreaming the world into being with beauty, is reclaiming the paradise that we have lost as a result of technology and industry and greed, reclaiming that paradise and reinstalling it here in this earth. And this is happening today. It's so exciting that this is exactly what's going on with this terrible transition that the planet is going, humanity is going through, to restore the planet to balance, to have an opportunity to restore balance to the earth. Now, the lineage that we belong to, we're guided to by our instinct. And for the shamans, our instinct is directly connected to our power animals. In the West, we have pets. Shamans have spirit guides, spirit animals that guide their instinct. They reset our instinct. They make our instinct true in all kinds of areas, from love to, do you know anyone who has a really bad instinct for partners? We all do. It guides your instinct to, in terms of what is your destiny going to be? Who do you align with? Where do you invest your time and your energy? What kind of study should you pursue? Your inner study, not your career study. What is your calling to deepen your wisdom? We're guided to this by our spirit animal. In the same way that we have a seeing eye dog, we've trained dogs to see for us. We have lost the clarity of vision that we used to have when we lived very close to the earth and to the land. Today our vision is muddled and confused with the internet, with information. We can't differentiate between information and wisdom anymore. We accumulate facts, but we don't accumulate wisdom. So our spirit animal guides us, helps us navigate through this barrage of information that we're dealing with today, through this society of fake values and fake news and fake success and fake achievement and Facebook lives and likes, to truly find the heart and the essence of our journey through this planet, through this earth. And it's important that we discover that lineage, because the lineage is a direct link to the wisdom that is passed down from generation to generation. Not orally. This is not an oral tradition like the anthropologists like to think about. This is an energetic tradition. When you become, again, when you reunite with your lineage, you become a lineage carrier. In some of the North American indigenous traditions, you're known as a pipe carrier. Or in South America, you become a mesa carrier. You carry an altar that is not only personal, but it's for your entire village. And if you are awake enough, it's for the global village, for the entire earth, for the entire planet. You become a lineage bearer and a lineage carrier. And in doing so, you begin to remember experiences that are yours, but that you never had directly. The ancient memories begin to wake up within you. In the middle of a class or in the middle of teaching, there's this beautiful body of wisdom that comes through you, and even as you're delivering it, you go, where did that come from? And that's because you have become an echelon, a link in this lineage that goes back to before the dawn of time itself. And this is the extraordinary lineage, the pre-religious lineage that the shamans connected with. And I want to tell you a funny story, because many years ago I was hiking in the holy mountain of the Ausangate with a number of elders. And we have been camping by the initiation lagoons, right at the base of the holy mountain at 14,000 feet, almost 5,000 meters altitude. And there were all kinds of lights coming in the night. I remember being in my tent and feeling like a truck had parked right outside my tent. And there are no roads, you had to hike there. And I look out and there's nothing there. And I go back inside my tent and it's totally, totally bright. There's this immense light inside my tent. And the next day we're hiking and we're walking with the shamans, and we meet a group of UFO researchers. And they ask the shamans, have you seen any strange lights in the night? Any strange lights that are changing direction very rapidly? And they go, no. So have you seen any strange objects in the sky? No. And the French leave and they're going out, these foolish Indians, and I asked the shamans, oh, we saw all of that last night. We saw all of those things. And they said to me, we're not interested in those lineages, in the ones that come in buses. Buses is any kind of mechanical ship to get anywhere. We are not interested in the ones that come in buses. We like the ones that come through the parts of the fabric of time and space. They step through like a camera lens that opens, and they're able to step through. These are our lineage, they said. These are the Inka from other realms and other dimensions, the illumined ones, the awakened ones. I go, wow. They said, yes, because our lineage not only goes back to the beginning of time, it goes back to the stars. We are star beings, they said to me. And then it hit me how our body is made up of the stuff of stars. The hemoglobin in our body, the oxygen transport molecule, is iron. That's why our blood is red, it's because it's iron. And all of the iron in the earth comes from supernovas, from exploding galaxies that exploded billions of years ago. We are made of the stuff of stars. And our lineages go back to that time when the earth was not even populated by green life or by the oceans. The wisdom goes back to before the beginning that we know, even in this beautiful planet of ours. And the way that we get to it is through our power animals. Our power animals take us back in the same way that a seeing eye dog may help a blind person cross a busy street. Today we are like a blind trying to cross a busy life, a busy career, the busyness of our lives. And we need the sight and the instinct of these ancient beings that are the spirit of the earth. Because the word anima means soul. And this is the soul of the mother, the animals, the feminine element, the soul of Gaia. And they're the ones that lead us back to that ancient lineage before time, that we can then remember who we are, where we've come from, and where we're going. I'd like to invite you to join me in a journey to this lineage by summoning one of our power animals. And I'm going to invite you to work today with the power animal of Hummingbird, of Colibri. I know that many of you that are watching this don't have hummingbirds in Europe. They don't exist. But imagine the ones from the Americas. Beautiful, beautiful little creatures that have so many colors in their wings and that are the great travelers. They migrate from Brazil to Canada every year without having enough wings or enough money or enough time. They go on the hero's quest, on the hero's journey. So let's take a moment and drop into our breath. Find your breath, deep, gentle breath. And I'd like you to call on the spirit of the hummingbird. Sihuarkenti, royal hummingbird. You who know the ways of the nectar, we call on you. Come and teach us your ways, the ways of flight, without having enough wings and without having enough food or without having enough strength to say yes to that great calling from Spirit. Despite our feeling that we're not suited, that we're not ready, that we don't have enough of what it takes, help us to say yes to that great calling. Hummingbird, we call on you from your place in the fields of ancient flowers to bring us the flower essences, the nectar of life itself, to feed only from nectar, that we no longer feed on the things that have died. We call on you, hummingbird. Teach us to spread our own little wings and say yes to that great journey back to source, back to where we were spawned, back to where we came from originally. Where did we come from? Help me to discover that. And I'd like you to imagine that you can take flight like a hummingbird, or maybe even on the hummingbird's back, as it takes you deep into the rainforest, past ancient pyramids covered with jungle brush, to the first places where consciousness was awakened in humanity. When did we stop being unconscious animals? Terrified at the beginning because we discovered death that animals don't know. They know other animals die, but not that they are going to die. And we discovered, yes, that death haunts us. And we fell into the trance, into the deep sleep of fear, forgetting that we are deathless and that our essence is infinite. Take me, hummingbird, deep into the rainforest to drink from the nectar of the golden flowers, of the ancient flowers, a nectar of wisdom, that golden nectar that awakens full consciousness within me. Guide me to these ancient temples. Where humans embodied and humans in energy form coexist with each other, intermingle. Help us to discover our lineage, our village that has existed from the beginning of time and before that. And to remember what it is that we came here to do in this lifetime, what our destiny would be about. Drink deeply from this nectar and say yes to that invitation to embark on the great journey, that epic journey, the hero's journey, to a distant land, and to come back. That we may invite others to come and join us in this journey of freedom, of liberation. Teach me to have the courage that you have, that allows you to cross oceans, and teach me to feed only from that nectar of Mother Earth, of pure life and pure love and pure wisdom. And allow the hummingbird to take you deep into the rainforest and observe how the vegetation peels away, showing you the ancient temples, the ancient places, the dwellings, the villages where we lived, when spirit and matter were not separate like they are today. And know that you can come here anytime. Because this is your lineage of medicine men and women that we have come to dream that new world into being together. And now allow the hummingbird to bring you back, but not before taking a mouthful of that nectar, that golden nectar, swallowing it and feeling how it nourishes you and heals you. And to bring you back into your space, your room, your body, yourself. And fully back in your body and in yourself. Notice how she dances in front of you, the hummingbird dances in front of you. And reach out with your hands and feel that you receive a drop of that nectar in your hands. And bring it to your heart. Don't forget who you are, where you've come from, and what we have come here to do together, to dream paradise back into being, and more. Aho. Thank you for joining me today in this journey, and remember to bring that nectar to everyone you come in contact with. Make sure that all of your relationships, all of your engagements, all of your conversations and dialogues are around the essence of life, the nectar of life. And everything else will peel away of its own accord. Aho.